Well guys, welcome to part 3 of how many, I don't know, God knows how many parts there'll be about this thing. So yeah, so here it is. It's off screen right now, but I'll open it up and show you more in depth of how it looks inside and like where things are and whatever. One of the things that I really wanted to do and that I mentioned, I think, in the previous videos is the painfully slow mechanical boot hard drive that I put in from it has like a really small, like 250 gig hard drive. I finally have a small 120 gig SSD lying around, so probably what I'm gonna do right now is open it up, swap the hard drive for the SSD, and install Windows from scratch and do the whole installation process with you guys and like show you inside how I did stuff, and yeah, so let's go do that. So opening it up is fairly simple. All I've kept from the original screws are the 4 on each end, 4 corners of the NES. The thing, again, with the plasti dip, you can see a bit like it's scratching off, and also like in the little indentations where the screws are, well, the screwdriver actually scratches off the paint. So another reason maybe not to use plasti dip for this type of project. So here it is in all its glory. I got my 2 fans as the intake here. These are 62 millimeter. No, yeah, around 60 mil. We've got the hard drive in the NES card here, the graphics card, the Zotac Mini. Got the stock Intel cooler with the Pentium under it. My 4 gigs of ballistic crucial memory. The HDPLEX power supply, which is powering this up, and actually like the intake where the power input goes is right here. It's screwed onto the piece of polycarbonate. The rest, I've got a fan splitter here for the 2 intake fans here. The rest of the cables are all managed up here. Like I'm actually really happy and surprised that I've enough space here for all these cables. And my really cheaply made power switch and reset switch holder things, like they work fairly well. Like they click, and you kind of need to be careful because I think the buttons and the case are painted with plasti dip, and they try to like stick together, and it's kind of awkward to press. Yeah, don't lose. I don't know how many times I've said this, but Plastidip, don't use Plastidip for this. Might be good for cars, but eh. And there's nothing much holding, you might notice like there's nothing much holding the graphics card, but with the pressure of the top case of the NES case, when you screw it up together, it doesn't budge. It really doesn't move, and it's actually like you don't well, for me at least, I don't screw these two I don't screw these two like to the end, because it would create probably too much pressure onto the graphics card and motherboard that I'm scared to break anything. So I just put enough pressure so that the case holds itself together and that the graphics card doesn't move all that much. So, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to install this Kingston 120 gig SSD into this and replace the stupidly slow mechanical hard drive, laptop mechanical hard drive. So what I've done here is that I've actually velcroed these 4 little pieces here, and yeah, it's actually like that simple. It's a little scratched up at the back of the case here, but it's inside the PC, so don't really notice it. And the only thing that you notice is that the sticker keeps ungluing here. I might need to, I don't know what I'll do, maybe some more glue or whatever, but So I'll put this to the side. Get my little screwdriver kit, and show you the inside of this if I can find the right bit. There we go. Had to sand off because this is, even if it's a replica, like a fake knockoff NES cart replacement thing, it's still made to hold an actual NES ROM or cartridge with all the memory and stuff, actual game inside. So actually had to. What did I do here? I think I managed. Maybe I cut using like a wire cutter. Yeah, wire cutter, and I don't think I've used the Dremel inside of here. But as you can see, I just used electrical tape to hold the hard drive in. This is, where did I get this? Yeah, from an old laptop, from an old, I think an old MacBook that a friend gave me. So for the hard drive to limit, like, so it doesn't move inside the cart, I actually, what are these? It's been 5 hours and it's still updating. Why? And probably something you guys have been waiting for a while is, how does the system perform? I don't really have that many like AAA or high-end games installed on it. I only have Monster Hunter World and Rainbow Six Siege installed on it that are pretty demanding. Both are pretty like resource hungry. Like Rainbow Six Siege in terms of GPU and CPU is pretty demanding, since it is an esports title, so having the highest frame rate is pretty important. So having a good combination of a balanced system with a good GPU and CPU will result in a higher FPS. So we'll check that out. And Monster Hunter World is if you guys paid attention to that when it was first released back in the summer 2018. The game was really CPU intensive, or CPU hungry. It could max out like 8700 Ks to 100%, and like you didn't see that much of a high FPS just because it took 100% of your CPU. So having such a like a little 2-core 4-thread 3.6 GHz CPU, like how will that translate into frame rate? We'll find that out. And like anyway, I've designed this system mostly for esports titles and like little couch co-op, couch competitive, and maybe some emulation. So anyway, like it can play anything. It will run anything, but don't expect like 4K or like the system can run anything. I've chose the components so it can like pretty much run any game that's released right now. Maybe not. Maybe like adding another stick of 4 GB of RAM to have 8 will help a lot. But it's like I said, it's mostly for couch co-op, emulation, and some esports titles. So I'm not worried, and I'm really content with the performance, and also thermals. Like thermals, we could look at that. And I'm probably going to change out the stock thermal paste on the CPU, because I've noticed that it gets a little toasty, like on the 70 to 80 C range. So like it's not hot enough to thermal throttle, but it's hot enough that I'm willing to change out the thermal paste for some. I have some knock to thermal paste that I have lying around that I'll probably change out. So let's go and check out some gaming benchmarks, or like how did I actually perform. So yeah, cool. If we look into the little benchmark I did where I was killing an Auto Garon, we could see here that it was averaging out about 46 FPS with a minimum of 21 and a max of 57. So it didn't hit 60 at all, but it was above 30 most of the time, which I'm actually really happy. I'm I'm not too disappointed in that. And minimum of 21, that's quite rare, where I think there are a lot of like a dust or like fog, like when a monster like pounds the ground and there's dust flying everywhere. That's a bit more intense on the GPU, I guess. And but it doesn't happen too many times, and I'm fairly like content with this average. But the other thing to keep in mind is Monster Hunter isn't the most optimized game out there, and it really shows where even with a high-end system, you can fall below 60 FPS, and it's annoying, but that's Capcom for you, I guess, or the Monster Hunter team. So I'm not too disappointed in these results. I was actually like I kind of knew that I was getting around that, and so we take a look here. We can see that the GPU was maxed out 100% all the way, and a peak of about 83C, with an average, I guess, seems pretty consistent 82C. And the GPU was pretty much, I think it was pretty much getting keeping its boost clock all the way through, with a little 1810 at the end, with a max of 1848. But I don't think I have a slight overclock. I put the core voltage and power limit. Well, the power limit I don't really have a control over that, but the max is 100%. But could add a little more voltage. I don't know if that might give me a few more megahertz on the core, but I kind of doubt that. Mostly overclocked the RAM, but I'm not confident enough into boosting it more than that, since the HDPLEX power supply is limited to about 160 watts, so not really confident into putting it higher than that. See, the GPU fan speed was maxing out at 70%, which it's definitely audible, and you can probably hear during the gameplay earlier on. We're hitting power limit pretty often, but I'm not really concerned with that. Now for the CPU, CPU was about, I guess we could say it's averaging around the 73, 75 degrees C, with a peak of 76, which I think that's really reasonable for a small system like this. And also the CPU was maxing out at 100%, so both pieces of both parts were maxing out mostly at 100%. So we can see that Monster Hunter was pretty much taking advantage of the whole system all the way through. RAM usage, even though it only has 4 gigs, wasn't maxing out. I put the CPU's core speed like at max all the way through. So it gets toasty, the fans spin, but at least there's no like definite thermal throttling or overheating. So I'm not too concerned. I'm pretty happy with these results. So if we were to look at the results for Rainbow Six Siege, right here, so the indoor mission averaged out almost about 86 FPS with a low of 60 with a max of 105, which I think that's perfect, and it's really playable. While the second mission, where it's more of an indoor-outdoor, I think the map is, I don't know, maybe the map, I don't know, the map isn't necessarily bigger, but we were going inside and outside, average out at about 77, almost 78 FPS, which is, again, really playable, really great, with a minimum of 50. I don't know, maybe that was a stutter or something, I don't really know, but while playing it, I really didn't feel it going below 60, so I guess there's that. With another max of 105. That maybe that's the CPU maxing out at certain points. I don't know. We can see here that the VRAM is under 2 gigs which is good. The GPU was getting really toasty, almost at 80 degrees, maxing out at 79, which it got to 79 like for a while, so which we could see here that the core clock was the GPU was downing its core clock to, I guess, combat the heat, but the fan speed didn't go up to 70 like with Monster Hunter, so I don't know what was going on there. I guess and then was hitting power limit, I guess, all the way through. CPU usage, well, it maxed out at 100 maybe at one point, but it's fairly high. But it's a fairly demanding game, and we're hitting like high frame rates, so that's pretty much expected. And then again, 3 gigs of RAM used, and the CPU not thermally throttling. CPU temperatures at around not as bad as Monster Hunter, which was more in the 70s, the high 60s, low 70s, while Monster Hunter was more into the 70s and mid 70s. So yeah, like for me, these are really good results. I'm really happy, and yes, we could conclude or something. So, in conclusion, am I happy with this, with the result of this box? In short, yes, I am so happy that this turned out to be, this turned out to work excellently, and it meets all my needs, and I can put it in a bag with a couple cables and like a keyboard and mouse in my backpack, and it fits, it's not too heavy, and it's great for, I can go to a LAN party and game all night or whatever, or bring it to a friend's house and plug it up to their TV, play 4-player co-op or 4-player couch co-op games. It's really great. And like I said in the previous videos, the only things I think I would change, like I've changed the hard drive already for an SSD, which just simplified so many things, and maybe like the next few things would be doing another paint job, but this time without Plastidip, and having a graphics card with FreeSync, like an AMD like 550 or something along those lines. But the 1050 does an awesome job already, and I don't know if I'm not ready to upgrade already. Maybe in the next few years also, like if I see that the CPU is lagging behind, I'll maybe put an i5 or an i7 if I find one pretty cheap. But so far, I am so glad, so happy that this turned out great. Kind of really scared at the beginning, like investing a lot of money, investing a lot of time too, but turned out great, and yeah. So I guess this is the end for this series of videos. Thank you guys for watching, even though this is not the regular content that's on my channel, but I wanted to do something different, and there might be a part 4, or other parts maybe, but I really like, I don't know if I mentioned this in the other videos, but I wanted to, if you've noticed that the controller ports on the front of the NES are still empty, that's kind of intentional, because I wanted to put the original controller ports back as as is with the real NES, but have those plugged into USB with a controller, with like a USB converter controller thing that I bought off of a company. Don't really remember what it is, but I need to do a soldering job to do for it to work. And right now with the soldering iron I have right now, it just won't cut it. It's not hot enough. It's not pointy enough. It's really disgusting, and I might get a new one. I might get a new one soon, but again, like I'm no soldering guru, but I might do something. And also, like, because of the power supply, like the 24 pin, that takes up a lot of room and other cables too. I think I'm probably just gonna fill up controller 1 with like a sheet of polycarbonate and seal that off. Or maybe put a USB input there, maybe, if I can. And then controller port 2 does fit its original controller port, but again, I'll need to do a soldering job for it to work. So thank you guys for watching. I know this was really long and a lot of rambling of a stupid francophone trying to speak English, but thank you guys for watching. See you guys sometime, I guess.